Y'all, this is huge, okay? I am sitting outside of my therapist's office. There is a little park bench where I come out here. Normally, I'm here with my partner and we come out here and talk. Afterwards, we kind of debrief the session. We talk about other things, and I just love being outside in nature. So it's just a really nice follow up. I also love being in therapy because it's basically just a really helpful conversation for me. And it's been a while since I've added any videos to this series, but I really wanted to come and talk to you about my experience getting prescribed Adderall and the decision processes that I've had since that time. So I basically, the story went something like this. I don't know if you've gone and watched the beginning of the first series, Living with ADHD 2019, and this video is a part of the series Living with ADHD 2020. I got diagnosed with ADHD from my therapist, who was a doctor in counseling. She is a licensed professional counselor, and I had been seeing her on and off for 2 years, and a lot of that time had been consistent. But then I also moved to New York during that time to pursue teaching, and I ended up leaving that field and industry. But I transitioned back to South Carolina, and I began to see her again. And then during my last session with her, because she was no longer with my insurance provider, she told me that I had all the traits of ADHD. So you'll see another video about why I decided to get a new therapist. And it was, I'm not going to say it was a clickbaity title. I'll say that I got everything that I needed from that therapy relationship, but it was definitely time for me to move on. And the universe obviously said so as well, because she was no longer under my insurance. And, therapy for me was just not in my budget if it wasn't going to be covered or subsidized by my insurance plan. So, and I do have the state insurance, so that's really important to know. I encourage people, when that time comes around, to sign up. Definitely sign up, find out what the income requirements are. Just be informed and definitely make the system work for you, because that's what I'm doing. And right now I'm paying a $20 copay for a $150 an hour therapy sessions that are really helpful to me. And actually, I'm thinking of adding another more appointments during the month, because now I'm going weekly. I'm actually thinking of adding more appointments because they just are that beneficial to me. So she told me in August of 2019, and since then I've been on a journey, and I've talked about what that journey was. They say that you go through the 5 stages of grief when you actually learn that you have a diagnosis that you've had all your life of a condition that you didn't know about. So first it may be denial, and then you'll go through other stages, and then finally you'll end up at acceptance. So that's what kind of happened with me. And I feel like I'm definitely at the acceptance stage where I'm ready to do things, and I had been ready to do things to make my life be the way I want to, despite having traits of ADHD, which interfere with concentration, which interfere with achieving things in life, because you can't concentrate, or because you can't focus, and you need to focus to get things done and to move on to the next step in life, right? So having ADHD impedes that, but it also gives you a lot of other gifts. So I would never want to paint the traits of ADHD as only negative. I will never do that, because that's just not been my experience. But the way this world works and navigating it, it pays to have some help and some assistance. So from there, I moved on. One of my goals at the beginning of the year, because I planned out my year in terms of, I did start to set intentions for the new year in 2020. I said I wanted to find a specialist in ADHD, and so far, that's exactly what my therapist has proven to be. He has traits of ADHD himself. He has overcome it, and he's learned to manage those symptoms, I think is a better way of putting that. And he really understands the neurobiology and does a lot of education. One of the main things that's helped me throughout this entire time is educating myself on what ADHD is, how it affects me. And I've learned that so many things and quirks that I thought were just a part of my personality are actually symptoms, and manageable. They are manageable. So him and I began to talk, and I decided that I wanted to go to and see about medication, because one of the last things that my first therapist said to me was that there is a drug called Concerta that might be really helpful for me. And I am going to be sweating, so if you see sweat, don't freak out. It's just my body, and it's very hot out here, but I love it. I love the sticky, humid heat. And so I was kind of wondering about that one, but I was wondering about Concerta and how it could help me. And so, being that there's not enough psychiatrists in the state of South Carolina, I wanted to see the psychiatrist that she had recommended to me. They were black women, a black woman-owned practice, but turns out, little spider that I don't want to get on me. They actually needed they actually were not taking new clients, and they needed like 4 months to be able to see me. So it ended up being that amount of time anyway, but I didn't know that. I wanted to get the process rolling. So at this new network where I'm at, where my new therapist is, they have a psychiatrist on site. They have someone who I could see. So he told me to see the office manager, and she put me in the system, and I was able to see a psychologist first because they have to do psychological testing, and then they refer you to the psychiatrist. So that's the one who prescribes the medication. And I had a 45-minute appointment with him, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. He asked me questions similar to the questions that the psychologist asked me. He asked me about problems with focus. He asked me, did I have problems in school? Have I ever gotten fired from a job because of the symptoms of ADHD due to being late? You know, did I have issues emotionally? Did I have anxiety? Did I have symptoms of depression? All of these were questions that were kind of included in the assessment. And then, you know, at the end of it, he said, okay, here's your Adderall. It's going to take a while for the pre-authorization to go through. Give it a couple of days. But, you know, and I said, will I be notified? Turns out that I was. I don't know if I was notified by my insurance company or notified by the pharmacy, but I was notified that my prescription had gone through and that I could go pick it up. So I go to my pharmacy that same or next day, and so let's see, I had my appointment with him on last Thursday, and I just picked up the prescription on this Monday. Today is now that next Thursday. So it's been 7 days since I've been prescribed. I still have not taken the medication yet. I wanted to speak to my counselor first before I did that, because I went online and found some really scary things about this drug. First of all, I found out that I was told that it was basically chemically the same as meth. I was also told that it would be really hard to get off of it. And it wasn't clear if a lot of these people who were giving these testimonials and stories about Adderall actually had ADHD or not. Some of the people who said they had ADHD were saying that it worked very well for them. And some of the people who said that it didn't, they weren't clear on whether or not they had it or not. So they may have been taking it recreationally, or they may not have really had ADHD. I'm not sure. There were a few stories where I saw that people said that getting off of Adderall, you know, the symptoms of withdrawal were actually a lot worse than the symptoms of ADHD themselves. But then I spoke to my counselor today. He kind of reassured me, because he said, seeing people with ADHD, I definitely do not see a lot of those people becoming dependent. In fact, I actually see the opposite. They're more reluctant to even take the drug, and they're more reluctant to become addicted because they didn't even want to take the drug in the first place. So they're more reluctant to abusing the drug. I'll say that, because I don't think you could become reluctant to being addicted. I think you could become reluctant to abusing it, and abuse doesn't necessarily mean addiction. So, where I'm at with it right now, I can say that I'm very adamant about being informed, and I think it's really important. I took the drug facts. I read every single line. I read every single line of the warnings and the side effects. I'm aware that this is a habit-forming drug. I'm aware that this is a drug that can affect my appetite and possibly make me lose weight, which I was not looking forward to, because I think I'm thick and lovely and voluptuous, and I wasn't actually trying to lose weight. I'm aware that you need to drink a ton of water, but I'm also aware that this is something that could help me. I'm aware that I won't know until I try it, which is something that my therapist actually emphasized. You won't know until you try it. There's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of unvetted information out there. And there's a lot of stories from people who got addicted, and a lot of times these people were taking it recreationally. So just be aware of that. And he said you'll know by the first day or the second day if it's for you. It wasn't for him because it made him sick. It gave him stomach ache, so that was a side effect. He wasn't able to stomach, no pun intended, but that concerto actually was for him, and he used it during the end of his PhD. He described the effects of it in a way that I hear a lot of people with ADHD who have taken Adderall describe it, like somebody turned the light on, or like they finally felt like themselves, or they did not feel all of these distractions, and they were finally able to like breeze through something and focus on something in a way that felt like the way they should have always been able to. I mean, it's really interesting. When you have ADHD, you only know what you know, you only know what you've experienced in life. However, you do have a sense that things are harder for you in certain areas than they are for others. So I just really think that's interesting. It kind of, to me, just shows how we're all connected, even if we are different. So, I don't have a lot of time on this video. I've only got 17 minutes and 48 seconds left of, space on this phone. This video is already 11 minutes long. I like to keep them short and sweet, around 20 minutes, but I know if I push it to the max, I may lose the end of the video. What I really wanted to get across here was, another thing my therapist did encourage me to do was to keep a diary. So I've already been keeping a diary of my therapy sessions, and they're not all in one place, but I've been keeping a thread, and I will remember to keep going back to that thread. I email myself every single time and keep notes on things I want to bring up in therapy, things that we talk about in therapy, different resources and tips that my therapist gives me, and then follow up and debriefing and just thoughts on therapy. And then sometimes just my thoughts on my state of mind. I call it like my ADHD/therapy journal. The thing that I wanted to get across in this video was, ADHD medications are very heavily researched, and, so that has to count for something. I do think a lot of the negativity does rise to the top and can keep us from making an informed decision. That's what my therapist echoed as well. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. Even though I was adamant about really not taking this drug after I felt that it was meth. I was like, this is meth. I refuse to take this. Somebody's trying to drug me. They just want to get me addicted. They don't care about me. I realized, it doesn't even matter if someone cares about you or not. It's really about, do you care about you? And are you going to take in all of the information that's available to you, including the information of how this works? I don't think that I'll get addicted off of taking one pill or half a pill, because I'm actually supposed to start with 10 milligrams, which is half of a pill, because I was given 20 milligram pills that are the not extended release. They're not the extended release. So I can take them, when I'm going to be concentrating on something, when I have a project in mind. I already know that I want to be clear on that. I'm already pretty good with diet. I'm very aware of how much greens I take in. I can feel it in my body when I need green vegetables, raw vegetables, live food. And I definitely take my supplements. I take magnesium, I take zinc, I take a multivitamin. I want to get some more prenatal vitamins because they kind of have certain nutrients in more abundance, and I was doing pretty well on those. I could definitely feel a difference in my just overall well-being, and it could have been a placebo effect, but I think I could feel a difference when I took prenatal vitamins versus just regular multivitamins. And the general takeaway of this video is that I'm keeping you up on my journey, getting prescribed medication and all of the feelings within that is it's a milestone. Doing the steps and going through the processes of what it takes to get those referrals is a part of the journey. And I feel like the more I can just demystify that for people, the better they can understand that, this is very doable for you. It's very possible. And I'm going to see if, in addition to all the other things I'm doing to manage my symptoms and live my best life, if this medication can add to that. So yeah. I'm Halise. Some people know me as Star. I want to go by Halise now because Star is just a name that I made up for a certain amount of time in my life. And even though I kind of look at it as a stage name because I am in a band called PMS, in which the S stands for Star, it's kind of not the everyday name I want to go by. And as I begin and continue my new career in freelancing and writing about these types of things, mental health and things like that, I want to go by my given name. So this is Elise signing off. Thank you for listening, and I will keep you posted on my journey. Maybe I'll do, oh gosh, I'll probably put that in a podcast, of just the everyday feeling of how I feel with taking the Adderall. Maybe I'll do that, or maybe I'll write something and then put it in my blog, and you guys can be privy to that. Because doing a video every day, that means I have to be camera ready, and I'm not ready for that. But anyway, signing off. Oh God, what fell on me? All right, peace.